Hey guys, welcome to another Wednesday, and that means we got to check in with our guy Mike Gittens from the War Rapport. Mike, as always, thank you for joining us. How you feeling, my friend?
Feeling good. Rex, SEC Media Days is just 2 weeks away, so we'll be there in Atlanta ready to make things happen.
Absolutely cannot wait for it. Of course, a lot to talk about. Talking season almost over because it's July, y'all. Next month we play football finally. But let's get to the recruiting trail. Mike, you and the War Rapport have brought up some big news because Auburn got a big time commitment. What can you tell us about it?
Look, they needed to make some moves here recruiting because it was getting a little slim on the recruiting trail. But Peyton Falzone or Falzoni, I'm not sure how you pronounce his last name, the Pennsylvania kid is joining this class. They needed to add another quarterback, so I was happy to see them add another quarterback to this class. He is a four-star kid. Throws a really, really good ball and is a good dual threat guy that Hugh Freeze is going to be able to utilize, I think, not only in the passing game, but with his legs. So, good pickup for them. It is only the seventh commit to this class. So, they still got a lot of work to do. It didn't really move the needle in terms of that team ranking. But it was an important piece, I think, that they need to add for future stability.
And that was my next question about recruiting. I know that this was a look, it turned some heads. It maybe wasn't an earth-shattering thing, but a four-star QB is still a good thing to have in your commitment class. Is this the kind of work that Hugh Freeze and his staff need to continue to do to shore things up for 2026?
Yeah, it is. And look, I mean, he always has pointed to 2026 as the critical year, Rex, where Auburn was going to need to be, in the conversation for a top 6 or 7 class. They did that in year two, actually. So, great deal for them to be able to move recruiting along so fast. But the results did not keep up with the recruiting. And, now kids, I think, are looking for that completion on the field for them to win some football games so that they can feel good about continuing to commit to Auburn. The money is relatively even at all the top schools. You're going to get paid if you're a top athlete, but they kids still want to win. And Auburn has had 2 straight losing seasons, and they've got to turn that trend around there if they want to continue to dominate in recruiting.
Mike, as you mentioned earlier, SEC Media Days just around the corner, less than 2 weeks out now. We've talked about offense, we've talked about defense. What are some things that you want to hear Hugh Freeze and the Auburn players address as we get ready for this new season, which is finally kicking off next month?
It's mostly about system, Rex. It's about, that they feel confident in the quarterback and his ability to be able to command this offense. And, they feel good about the balance that they're going to have on offense. If you're Hugh Freeze, no longer are you talking about a talent gap or you closed it. You've done supposedly you've done it. And if you truly have done that, then we should be able to see the results of that on the field. Week after week on this show, we've talked about how manageable this schedule coming up is for Auburn. Not easy, but manageable. Baylor, Ball State, South Alabama. You open Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Georgia. That's a pretty rough start to SEC play. But Missouri, Arkansas, Kentucky, Vanderbilt, Mercer, one of the most winnable stretches in Auburn football history. Now that divisions have gone away, and in divisionless football in the SEC, you get a chance at some of those rotations that may be a little bit more favorable with LSU and Ole Miss coming off your schedule and Missouri and Kentucky going on more regularly. So I think that if they can start to win games, they can move the needle everywhere. And this is the prove it year for Hugh Freeze. Now, a lot of people feel like he's on the hot seat coming into the season. I think it's warm. I don't think it's hot, but it certainly will be hot, boiling hot, if they can't get to 8 wins.
And I love how you put it there that look, you have all the ingredients, you got the recruits, and you close that talent gap. It's time to finally execute. Because as you pointed out, back-to-back losing seasons, not exactly the greatest thing to bring top talent to the Plains. Let's switch it over to the basketball court now. During the college basketball season, you and I pretty much praised Johni Broome anyway and any opportunity we could, which he deserved. It was pretty much between him and Cooper Flagg for the National Player of the Year. Cooper Flagg ends up going number 1 overall. The worst kept secret in all of sports, right? But then you fast forward out of the top 10, out of the top 20, out of the first round, Johni Broome finally goes in the second round. Your overall reaction to hearing Broome's name being called so late?
Look, talent evaluation is not an exact science. Now, Johni Broome is one of the hardest workers I've ever seen on a basketball court. He's extremely talented. I did struggle with injuries, and it made me wonder if, he got hurt during that Final Four run, if maybe some of those injuries haven't healed to these NBA teams' expectations, or there's something there that they're not saying publicly that may have shied some teams away from taking him too high. He was going to get taken. The the risk assessment, though, is based on the whole body of work, and I think that his history of injuries, while he's been tough and played through them, may have played a part in why he slid to the second round. Johni Broome he still has room to improve his game. He added a 3-point shot in college. Yeah, he has he could play well with his back to the basket. He's one of the best defenders and rebounders that we've seen in college basketball these last couple of years. He's got the measurables. It was just about how much risk do we want to take in terms of how high we take them, because those guys that go top 10, those are your franchise guys. I don't know if you saw, like, Jabari Smith, crazy, insane contract that he got. He was a top 5 overall pick. We saw Isaac Okoro was a top 5 overall pick. These guys are dominating their teams, and certainly, if you take a guy super high, you expect him to be that guy. They may think that he's going to be a productive player, but there could be questions about how quickly he gets there, which is why you fall to the second round.
Janai, I think there's a lot of poetry that he went to the 76ers just like Charles Barkley back in the day. But you look at the 76ers roster, Paul George, Joel Embiid, Maxey. This is a great squad. Do you think he's a guy who could maybe take his time to get used to the NBA speed while learning from some of the top talent in the NBA as well?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good to have veteran presence around you at the pro level, guys that you feel like you can learn from. And they're putting together a specific type of team there in Philadelphia. They feel like Janai fits that mold and could be a guy who could come in and fill productive minutes for them. So I like the situation that he's in Philadelphia. I don't know if you've ever been to Philadelphia, but it's a great city. If anybody asks you where the best cheesesteak in Philadelphia is, tell them it's Jim's. Rex, go to gyms. That's what I'm gonna tell Janai. But other than that, I'm telling you, I think it's a good situation there for him. He's gonna have good, like I said, good veteran presence around him. He'll continue to learn from those guys and be a student of the game like he always has been, and he should do well.
Jim's is the spot, and also Janai get you a real coat. The hoodies that we took away with in Auburn probably not going to work in Philly. But at
Yeah.
the same time, you brought him up. Jabari Smith was an absolute baller for Bruce Pearl. He looked everything like a top 10 draft pick, a lottery pick. Signs a 5-year, $122 million, I think it's in that range deal. You're right. That's a guy who Houston believes can be the guy to carry them into the future. You look at the numbers, sure, it's maybe 12 points. It wasn't what he was at Auburn, but let's talk about what people in Houston, if they didn't watch Jabari in college, if Jabari gets up to that potential, he could be one of the top talents in the NBA, couldn't he?
Yeah, absolutely could be. And that's what this contract reflects, that he is every bit of the franchise player. He had a little bit of a rough start to his rookie year, and there were people doubting whether he's going to be a guy or not. And his coach took a lot of fire for how he was using the young collection of talent. But Jabari is a can't miss prospect. He was always going to be good, whether it was with Houston or somebody else. Just was whether or not that first situation you get in as a rookie is where they develop your talent. Now, throughout NBA history, we see that it usually works better that way when they thrive with the franchise that drafted them, but it doesn't always happen that way. So I was happy to see him find success with Houston. I think he's going to continue to be one of the best players in the NBA, and in a few years, maybe talking about Jabari on one of those Olympic squads that have given us so much pride in our country over the years. So he's great. He's a good shooter. He's got good goal presence. He's a great defender. Not afraid to square up with big men down in the paint. I like Jabari Smith. I think that he is going to be Auburn's best example of what a pro player should look like for a very long time.
Absolutely love it. And personally, as many of you have now known by now that I am from Houston, and I think I screamed War Rocket Eagle when we finally drafted Jabari. So I was super happy about that. Last question here for you, Mike. Look, we see Janai go and get all the recognition. We see Jabari sign this massive contract. Guys like Walker, Okoro making strides in the NBA. A lot of these Bruce Pearl guys are doing well at the next level. Does that just reflect, again, what Bruce has built at Auburn with the Auburn men's basketball team?
Absolutely. Look, you can't be a solid program without producing pro prospects. not at a college level. And, we've seen Calipari put a lot of guys in the league. We've seen, Mike Krzyzewski and Coach K when he was in here just put a lot of guys in the league. Bruce Pearl is made in that same vein and that same cloth. And, that's one of your biggest recruiting pitches as well, too. Come to Auburn, we're going to get you to the league. Look how much draft buzz Tahad Pettiford got. Going through the process this year, he'll return. I believe that he'll be a top 10 overall pick when he decides to come out, which let's be honest, he's got one more year and he's gone. Decision to return, huge for Auburn, as he is the only returning member of that Final Four squad. But he comes back a year more experienced, a year more talented, a year more knowledgeable in the system, and he's going to carry the flag for what Bruce Pearl wants this year as the incumbent superstar. So it's going to be fun to watch guys like him, but ultimately, as these guys continue to go to the league, Auburn is on an incredible stretch of putting guys to the league. I believe if Sharif Cooper had come back another year, Rex, that he would have been done himself some favors as well too. But going back to Jamar, like I mentioned Isaac Okoro, and those aren't the only guys in the league. Guys like Okiki going back to that Final Four run, that first Final Four run. Just very, very good basketball players Auburn has put into the NBA. So being known for that is not a bad thing. And certainly Bruce Pearl hopes to close out his career at Auburn strong, continuing to develop guys and get them to the league. What I've always liked about him is that he'll be honest with the player. When he sat down and he talked about Isaac when he got his draft evaluation, he told him, he's like, Isaac, you're gone. That's it. You're not coming back. Had the same conversation with Jabari. Like, that's it. You're not coming back. You're a top 5 overall pick. You're gone. And with Tahad, I think there was more of a conversation to be had where, as a true freshman, he wasn't quite there yet. Plus, Auburn is able to provide the financial incentives to make it worthwhile for them to stay now with this house settlement finally going through. And they've got the money in their hands to say, look, if it take $1 million to get you to come back for another season, bam, let's go play basketball.
And I think that's something that everyone can really appreciate is the brutal honesty that Bruce can give. Because, one thing can be said about other coaches who may twist the truth or twist the facts a little bit. But I love that about Bruce. Like, look, you're good enough to go. Auburn will be here. Come back for your degree later on, but go make your money. And then but also to be honest with guys. Like, look, I know you want to go, but here's the thing. You may need to create some more value for yourself. I absolutely love that. Mike, another great conversation, my friend. Where can people find you? Because, again, you're doing great things with the War Report, but Auburn isn't the only school you cover as well.
Yes. Go check us out at the War Report, every social media platform, TW Report on TikTok. Also follow me at Locked On UCF1 on Twitter and at Locked On UCF on YouTube. We are almost to 1,000 subscribers. So close, Rex. But I just did an interview with UCF quarterback commit Dante Carr. He's the second quarterback to commit to Scott Frost and Mackenzie Milton in that class. So we'll continue reaching out to those guys and getting those interviews on for UCF fans, but doing some great work over there. So go help us out.
Absolutely. Give them a subscribe, like all that good stuff that they need to do for the YouTube to make sure that my guy Mike is surviving and thriving over there, doing great things for both Auburn and UCF. Mike, that does it for another Wednesday. We'll see you next week, y'all.